Good morning. I'm Roseline Mottie, age 30 years of age and a mother of a 3-year-old son. I'm currently working for the Western Cape Education Department as an educator for the past 9 years. I recently moved to Blackheath from my parents who I was residing with during the time that I was diagnosed with the coronavirus, which was during the month of June 2020. As a coronavirus survivor, the experience has taught me a different view and perspective on life. And as daunting as this experience was, I chose to took the good from it. The coronavirus, as most of us know by now, is a virus that spreads quite easily and it is highly infectious. This virus spreads through aerosol droplets, so whenever we cough or sneeze, and whenever we come into close contact with one another. Now, coming in close contact with one another is one of the aspects of a human aspect where we as humans find it so difficult to really not be in close contact with one another, because that's seen as a very natural instinct that we usually fellowship with one another, and we usually in the habit of giving someone else a hug just to show that affection. And part of what this virus has done, it has obviously changed that for all of us, and that is, I see that as part of the most difficult experience, where you need to really be disciplined, and you really need to constantly remind yourself that those are the things that one can't do any longer. And I think that is the difficult aspect of this coronavirus, the fact that it spreads in such an easier way, and that we always need to be mindful of the aspect that there are certain things that we can no longer do, that we are used to doing as a human being. Personally, when it comes to our health sector, I really need to commend our health sector for the commitment and the selfless work towards the lives of others. We need to be mindful of the fact that it is a virus that no one was fully prepared for. It is a virus that came at a very unexpected time in our lives, and a situation that we can never really prepare for as we really wanted to. And the reason I'm stating that I want to comment our health sector is because they really selflessly committed themselves to this process, keeping in mind that they themselves never really got the proper training or really had the proper or the full knowledge regarding this virus, thing that is so unknown. However, through all the hard work and dedication of the health department, they've really tried their utmost best to work together with us as a nation to combat this virus as best as possible. Like I stated, it is a virus where one is not really fully prepared, as it is something of the unknown. And with what we know, we can only do so much. So I must salute the health department. I have people working in there as part of the department, and I know how much hard work and effort they actually put into this. They're also human beings. They've also sacrificed loved ones through this process. They themselves, as being part of the health department, have even lost their lives through servicing the community at large. Yes, I understand that the government and as well as the WHO had to implement level 5 during the national disaster state of our country, and that is highly due to all the protocols that they had to place, especially the health facility that had to get themselves ready, as well as putting certain protocols in place for businesses and all the other elements regards to this particular the rules and regulations that had to be placed in for businesses, as well as everybody that had to abide by certain rules. So the lockdown underneath level 5 was necessary for the country to obviously prepare themselves, and part of the main reasons we had to go into this particular lockdown level 5 specifically was also to reduce the infectious rate to avoid the spread of the virus at that particular time. And I'm sure it helped to a certain extent. Obviously, it wasn't to the extent that we wanted to as a country, but as mentioned earlier on, you just never know, and you just never fully prepared for it, as it is something unknown and something that can't be seen. So level 5 was needed. I feel that it was necessary, and it actually curbed the virus to a certain extent compared to what other countries was at that particular state or that particular time frame, as we were when we do the statistics specifically. There are certain main protocols that we need to follow. For example, our hygiene practices. We At this particular point, I think it has become part of second nature that we need to really follow the rules of washing our hands, sanitizing regularly, wearing your mask, maintaining the social distance, for our own cautious. Now, as adults and as human beings, it's something that it's difficult to do, to be honest. It's really difficult because um, it's a really natural instinct of human beings to just touch one another, just to be close to one another. I think we've been created in that particular manner, and for us to all of a sudden just to keep distance from one another makes it really difficult. But we need to bear in mind that as individuals, we really need to take extra caution, not for our own sake only, but for the lives of others also, to always practice these safe protocols that has been placed. Um, so that we can look out for the next person, not only for ourselves, because remember, we need to act responsibly as citizens, and we need to be mindful and act maturely in that regard, so that we obviously save lives and be considerate for the next person, because remember, the virus affects people on different levels, and everybody's immune systems are also different, so we need to always be mindful, if not only for ourselves, but for the next person that we come into contact with as well. This is a disease which affected people on various levels. Um, you can state on a physical, on a mental, on a spiritual level, and even financially. I need to state that I was fortunate, and we're actually very privileged in the sense that working for the education department, we weren't impacted that heavily financially. But on the other levels, which is emotionally and mentally, and due to the fact that we work with plus minus 300 to 5 learners on a daily basis, there is still a high level of anxiety around this matter, due to the fact that these learners come from different households. They use different modes of transport back and fro from the houses, so you never know who they were in contact with, and they themselves have this element of fear or anxious, because remember, they also go home to parents and grandparents. So on a mental and a very emotional level, it is really taking toll on us as educators, because at the end of the day, the demands and the requirements from powers that being and higher powers, they still demand that whatever duty we need to perform, we need to do so, and we obviously need to do it to our best of our abilities, despite the risk that we are at. So that is why I'm stating, even though we weren't affected much financially, but emotionally and mentally, it really took its toll. And in essence, that then automatically affects one physically, and then obviously affects one's immune system at the end. And due to that, it obviously places a whole lot of other stresses on us as educators. Um, because you don't perform to the best ability that you should perform. And many a times the powers that being, many a times about them, it's just about, the work needs to get done. But they don't bear in mind that we're also human beings, we also have emotions, we also have lives, we're also worried, and we're also concerned. So I think they also need to respect that particular element of us as human beings, and not just make it a work world, but treat us as living human beings that also have this element of fear and anxiety as well. When it comes to the vaccines, I do believe that many studies and research has gone into the development of the vaccines. Now, because of this virus being unknown and the variant, it's obviously difficult to trace. They had to take extra caution around it, and after a whole I'm not sure if it's now 12 months or more than that of research that actually went in, um, we need to be grateful that we had our first vaccines delivered not too long ago, our first batch of vaccines, and we can only hope for the better because once again, I'm sure that element of fear is around, the fear of the unknown. So we're not sure. And we also need to be mindful that we shouldn't see this vaccine as the cure to the virus, but more as a treatment in order to reduce the rate of the increase of the virus rate, and also the infections and even the death rate. So it can be seen to treat that part of it, but not as a cure to the virus. So we still need to be in cognizance that we need to be mindful of how we act from day to day. We need to be mindful to follow the 5 golden rules of washing our hands, sanitizing, wearing our mask, and keeping the social distance. Because at the end, you as an individual, you need to look out for the next person, and we can only combat this virus as a nation. And as much as many people have been affected on a very emotional or very traumatic experience that they've had thus far since this virus actually has been declared here in our country, we really need to look out for one another, and we need to stand together because that is the only way that we can really combat this virus as a nation. And I thank